Hey everybody, I hope you're enjoying this spectacularly beautiful day. I am so relieved to be back in district and even out in my car driving around on this gorgeous day, catching up with local things because I have been in Hartford every day this week and much more of that to come. It is, we are in the final couple weeks of session. And so this past week we had 3 session days, one day filled with other meetings, in-person meetings. And then today we are at home. But so I thought I'd give you a little sense of what it means, the rhythm of a session day and what that means. I mean, to call it a session day means that the House is in session and we are debating and voting on bills. And at this stage of the game, we're debating and voting on House bills, which then we will, if they pass, they will move on to the Senate. And the Senate is doing Senate bills, and then eventually we will start hearing Senate bills that have passed there, and they'll start hearing our bills. So what that means for me is that, first of all, I vote generally in chamber, although we also still have the capacity to vote on our laptops as long as we are in the Capitol. And sometimes I do that too because I'm in various meetings in and around the Capitol, but I am in the Capitol building. And so first of all, the chamber, if you haven't had a chance to come visit, I really strongly recommend, if it fits in your schedule, to do it. It is a very beautiful building, needs some repair and upkeep, and the chamber is a really impressive place to be and reminds you of the important trust that we've all been given. So that's where the debate takes place, is in our chamber. So I usually go into chamber to vote and catch up with colleagues. It's often a chance for colleagues to find me, to ask questions about financial issues and what's happening and what isn't happening. Also, reporters are the chamber. It's a public space, and so reporters are in the chamber. It's a chance for them to find legislators, and so I have a lot of conversations with reporters while I'm in the chamber. And then even during session, people are coming and going because various conversations are happening on current bills and future bills. And so immediately outside the chamber is a space where generally you can meet with the heads of state agencies, the government, executive officer staffs, others, our own staff. Try to make a phone call, although it's pretty noisy. I find it's a really hard place to make a phone call and actually be heard. And it's certainly not private. But then just outside that space, you'll know there are sort of velvet ropes that are outside that space. There's a reason why it's just state agency heads and government people that are in that section, because right outside there is where the lobbyists are allowed to be, and there are limits on where they can be, but they're right there in right outside that. So sometimes when you're in a bit of a rush, if you're walking from the chamber, for example, to our caucus room where they serve us lunch and they have meetings we have meetings within our caucus on complicated or difficult bills. You hit that rope line, and sometimes if you're in a rush, you have to kind of walk fast and not make eye contact because the lobbyists and the advocates are of course doing their jobs. I try to balance it between the times when I have to walk quickly and the times when I can engage with people. And I just actually yesterday engaged with a woman who's a police officer from Chicago and Cleveland, actually, where I grew up, who's working on police reform issues, and she has a strong law enforcement background. So I ended up having a really interesting conversation that touches on a lot of things that are important to me. So you got to make time for those too. And then there's right adjacent to the caucus room are our leadership's office. There's speaker's office, and then his staff's office, and then the majority leader's office. I spend a lot of time in there now because we are finalizing, even though we are technically not running amendments to the budget this year, there are a number of issues that have fiscal implications that I'm responsible for. And so I often end up spending a lot of time working in the speaker's office just because we can talk through things. And then you get a sense of all the people who are coming through at the last minute to talk to the speaker to try to haven't gotten the answer they want so far. And so they're in there making their last case to try to get their issues addressed in a way that a resolution that they want. So you learn a lot. There's a lot of, again, this being in person and just seeing the flow of information and being there in the room gives a lot more ability to affect the big picture. I also now have my office is in the legislative office building, which is across the street. Most legislators House representatives' offices are there. But I have now a sort of conference room that I share with Representative Tony Walker, who's the House Chair of the Appropriations Committee, and we can hold meetings there. Make a phone call where you can actually hear one another. It's a little bit more private space, a place you can actually get some work done, and again conduct a meeting if you need to pull people into a quiet space. Or I'm upstairs. The Senate has their chamber above the House chamber, and my co-chair, of course, we all have all committees in Connecticut, legislative committees in Connecticut are joint, meaning that there's a House chair and a Senate chair, and so my Senate chair has a office up there, and so I often go up there to run things past him or hear how he feels about certain things, and sort of get a bead on what's happening in the Senate, because right now we're working on sort of parallel tracks, but pretty soon we're going to have to make sure our bills are getting raised in the Senate, and they're going to have to make sure their bills are getting raised in the House. So those conversations get more urgent as time goes on, because we're all very aware we have very little room. And then occasionally when there's a long debate going on, and I just need a breath of fresh air, I go outside and walk across the street to the Legislative Office Building, honestly, sometimes just to get a breath of fresh air, or to go over to, if you forget your laptop charger or you need a snack that you keep in your file drawer in your office, you can go over there. And you still hear, if you go over to the Legislative Office Building, you hear all the announcements. So if there's a vote, there's lots of bells and whistles that go off. We all get texted, so I can, immediately turn around and head back and not miss a vote. Or there are groups that are coming to do rallies outside, which this week the nonprofits were outside, and I got to visit with a number of regional nonprofits, including McCall Behavioral Health. And that's always a pleasure to see, local interests represented in person at the Capitol. And so that's always a powerful thing. That rally was really great. There were a lot of people there, and I was proud and happy to see everyone, all the legislators who showed up to make sure that they're showing allegiance to the nonprofits and doing what we can for them in this squeezed budget season, but we're trying to make some space for that as well. So that's basically how these days go. You're trying to get stuff done while the voting is also going on, and then also, trying to catch the debate, because you do learn things occasionally from some of the statements that are made on the floor. So that, again, starting Monday, we will be in session every day through May 8th Wednesday, May 8th at midnight, except for Sunday. We have one day off starting Monday. This weekend, I want to highlight a few things. First of all, tomorrow, Saturday, is National Drug Take Back Day, which is an opportunity to take expired or unused prescription medications you can take them to your local state trooper, Troop B in Canaan and Troop L in Litchfield are both participating in that. And there's also, I will put information about other locations that are doing that as well. It's Independent Bookstore Day on Saturday, so I'm hoping to squeeze in a visit to one of the excellent independent bookstores in our area. And then we passed a bunch of bills, and I will I think it's easier for me to put them in the newsletter and try to provide links to more information on them so that you can see what bills are of interest to you. And again, I mentioned before, this is also the time of the year when a bill that you're interested in seems to have a lot of support and it might disappear. Sometimes that means that it's getting folded into a bigger bill. That is definitely happening. So it's still alive, but it's alive in a different format. So I'm going to try, as we wrap up, to keep people informed on that. Other than that, I hope you have a great weekend. See you around town.